To the version of me who thought no one cared, you were sitting in your room again, weren't you? Door closed, music playing too loud, or maybe just silence. It wasn't that something happened, it was that nothing did. No texts, no knock on the door, no one asking where you were, and slowly that silence started to sound like proof. You believed it, didn't you? That if you disappeared, no one would notice. That if you stopped trying, stopped talking, stopped existing loudly, the world would just move on. You weren't angry. Not really. You were tired of giving, of waiting, of hoping that maybe this time someone would stay long enough to understand. You told yourself you didn't need anyone, that being alone was better than being hurt. So you distanced. You smiled with your mouth and disappeared with your eyes. You learned how to blend in, how to be okay in a room full of people who didn't really see you. I remember that version of you. I was you. And I know how heavy it felt to carry the question, am I truly that forgettable? Let me tell you something now. From this side of time, you were never forgettable. You were never invisible. You were just surrounded by people who didn't know how to love what they couldn't understand. They didn't know that your silence was a scream. They didn't see that your distance was protection. They missed it. Not because you weren't worth noticing, but because they weren't paying attention. But you still stayed soft, even when the world told you it wasn't safe. Even when you were told to toughen up or stop being dramatic, you kept your heart beating gently. And that is strength no one talks about. To remain gentle in a world that made you feel small. That is rare. That is beautiful. I know what you're thinking. If you're so worthy, then why did no one show up? The truth? Some people only know how to love loudness. They don't know how to sit in quiet with someone and just stay. But that doesn't mean you were unlovable. It means you were surrounded by people who hadn't learned how to listen. You deserve to be listened to, not just heard, not just pitied, listened to. You deserve the kind of love that doesn't ask you to explain your silence, the kind of presence that says, I'm here, even when you're quiet. And I want you to know that kind of love exists. I know, because I finally found it. But first, I had to give it to myself. I had to learn that loneliness wasn't a reflection of my worth, but of what I'd been taught to accept. I stopped chasing people who only came around when I was useful. I stopped apologizing for needing connection. I stopped pretending I was okay with being invisible. And slowly, I became invisible to myself and to others who saw me fully. If I could go back and sit beside you on one of those quiet nights, I wouldn't say much, I'd just sit, long enough for you to realize someone did stay. And if you asked me what changed, I'd say this: I stopped waiting to be chosen, and I started choosing myself. To the version of me who thought no one cared, you were wrong. You just hadn't met the people who would yet. You hadn't become the person who could yet. But you're on your way. You've always been. You weren't broken. You weren't too much. You weren't hard to love. You were simply waiting for the love that knew how to arrive quietly and stay even when you had nothing to say. Now I want to ask you something. Not the younger version, but you watching this now. Have you ever felt like you didn't matter? That your presence was a burden? If so, I want you to comment below. I'm still here. I still matter. Because you do. You always did. Even in the quiet, even in the dark.